grade 10s, it's Miss Langraj, and I'm going to do another video today on multiplying a binomial by a binomial. So I did one yesterday. Please make sure you've watched that one first. This is part 2 of the same topic. So I want to remind you that when we're multiplying a binomial by a binomial, x plus 6 times x minus 6, the purpose of that is to take an equation from factored form and change it to standard form. So before we start and go any further, can you make sure that you get a pencil and a piece of paper so that you can do math with me while we're working? We're going to eventually look at this page 3 of assignment number 4. But before we do that, let's go to an easier question. So let's look at 7 minus 2 in a bracket times 1 plus 3 in a bracket. So 7 minus 2 is equal to 5. 1 plus 3 is equal to 4. So we know that when we multiply 5 times 4, we should get 20. And what we want to do today is we want to use that chart method to get 20 a different way. So just like we did yesterday, what we're going to do is we're going to put the 7 and the minus 2 at the top and the 1 and the 3 down the side, and we're going to multiply 4 times in order to get the right answer, which is 20. So I'm going to multiply the 7 times the 1, and I'm going to multiply the minus 2 times the 1. I'm going to multiply the 7 times the 3, and I'm going to multiply the minus 2 times the 3. So inside the chart, the 7, the 2, the 21, and the minus 6, that is our answer. Together, those 4 things should somehow give us the same answer as above. They should give us 20. So let's see, what do we do with those 4 numbers on the inside that we got from multiplying? What we do is we put them all together. So I'm going to take my 7 minus 2 plus 21 minus 6, and I get 20. Notice that when I put the 4 numbers together from the inside, I'm not multiplying at them anymore. I'm simplifying. So I'm adding and subtracting. So let's try one now that has x's in it. But let's remember everything we just did when there was no x's. If I have x plus 4 times x minus 3, I'm going to put the x plus 4 across the top and the x minus 3 going down. And I'm going to multiply 4 times. So I'm going to multiply the x times the x. And don't forget that when you multiply x times x, it gives you x squared. So x times x is x squared. And 4 times x is 4x's. And minus 3 times x is minus 3x. And minus 3 times 4 is minus 12. All I've done is I've multiplied 4 times. Now our job is that we need to simplify that. We need to put the x squared and the 4x and the minus 3x and the minus 12 all together. And that's going to give us our answer. Okay, so now you can see at the bottom of the screen that I've written that y is equal to x plus 4 times x minus 3 is the same thing as y is equal to x squared plus 4x minus 3x minus 12. Now, let's just make sure that we have done that correctly using Desmos. If those 2 equations, the one in factored form and the one in standard form, are the same, on Desmos, I should get the same graph. So I've gone to Desmos and I've graphed them. And I can see that, yes, they are the exact same graph. I only see one graph. The blue graph is covering the red graph. Now, I want you to notice, though, that that equation at the bottom is not really simplified yet. I still need to put the parts that are together. So the 4x and the minus 3x can be simplified together. If I have 4x minus 3x, I really just have 1x. So I'm going to write the equation y is equal to x squared plus 1x minus 12. So here I am in Desmos right now. If you look at the equation with the red circle next to it, that's the one that's in factored form. The blue equation is not really in standard form yet because it's not simplified, but the green equation is in standard form. Y is equal to x squared plus 1x minus 12. So that first equation is in factored form. The last equation is in standard form, and I can tell that they are the same equation. They give the same result because I only see one graph on the page. So we'll do one more question together. We're going to do y is equal to x minus 3 times x minus 4. We'll do this one together. And I'll do this one on my chart paper so you can see me working, and that might make it easier to understand. So here is our equation in factored form. In factored form, we have the brackets, so y is equal to x minus 3, x minus 4. We know that if we graphed it, this minus 3 and this minus 4 would help us find the x-intercepts. Instead of graphing and touching the x-axis at minus 3, it would touch at plus 3. Instead of touching the x-axis at minus 4, it would touch at plus 4. So what we want to do is we want to take that equation that's in factored form and change it to standard form, and we're going to use our chart method. So here I go. So x times x is going to be x squared. X times minus 3, or minus 3 times x gives you minus 3x. X times minus 4, or minus 4 times x gives you minus 4x. And minus 4 times minus 3 give me a plus 12. So I'm going to write down the things that I have on the inside of the chart because that's the answer. This is the question and this is the answer. So my answer in standard form should be x squared minus 3x minus 4x plus 12. Now, if you were to graph this in Desmos and graph this in Desmos, I promise you'd get the exact same graph because we haven't made any mistakes. Now, the problem or the place that people run into mistakes is now when we try to simplify. For some reason, they think that, and I understand the reason, minus 3 and minus 4 is going to give you plus 7x because two negatives give you a plus. That only happens when we're multiplying. Up here, we're multiplying. Negative 3 times negative 4 gives you a plus 12. Here, I am simplifying. I am subtracting. I'm adding and subtracting. So I want you to think about this. Let's just write down the x squared part and the plus 12. We know that's right. Here, I want to simplify minus 3 minus 4. If I were to use my calculator and do this, this would be negative 3. Oops. Press the negative button. Negative 3 subtract 4. If you try that, I promise you, I wish you would try it just to confirm, that you would get minus 7. When we're simplifying, when we're adding and subtracting, two negatives don't make a positive. It's only when we're multiplying, negative 3 times negative 4. So my answer right here is going to be negative 7x. Now, what you can do is you can go to Desmos. You can graph this equation. You can graph this equation. And you can graph this equation, and you'll have three equations, but on Desmos, you should only see one graph. And this last one right here is what we call standard form. And the great thing about standard form is the number that's at the end, this plus 12, this is going to be the y-intercept. So that means if I were to graph this, I know from factored form, it's going to go through plus 3 and plus 4 on the x-axis. So here's my x-axis. Plus 3 plus 4, and my y-intercept is going to be 12. So I'm going to have a graph that looks like that. And we can check right now with Desmos to make sure we are correct. So I've used Desmos, I've entered the factored form, I've entered the standard form at the end, and I've entered the middle step, and I can see that I have one graph, so that means all three of those are the same, so I did not make a mistake. So I know that learning from home is tough. I know that it can be frustrating, but I want to remind you that every day from 1:30 to 3, I'm on Google Meet, and I'm happy to help you. You don't need to be shy because typically it's just me on Google Meet by myself, and sometimes I have one other person, and if there's someone there, when you log on, you can just unlog on and re-sign on whenever no one's there. Please leave me a comment in YouTube. I love to know that you're watching my videos, and you leave me a comment is my indication that you've actually watched it. I hope you have a great day, and tomorrow we will be learning something new.